Let me know if the sound. Hopefully this should be sound. Sound should be restored. You can let me know in the chat. Sound should be restored. Hopefully it's restored. Sound. Sound better. Sound. 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Any sound. It's Friday. I love it. Awesome. Hey, it's Friday. Oh, it's Friday. It's Friday. My shoulder hurts. I'm high on painkillers. Yeah. It's ridiculous. So let's start the show again. Yes. So look, I'm JB. Welcome to the United Devil channel with this amazing community. The sound now does work. Friday the 24th of April is Friday. I'm happy. I'm on painkillers. My shoulder hurts. I don't care. Game on Monday. Season look is coming thick and fast. So look, we're going to get into it. Look, we're going to talk about there is a shift. There has been a shift in this club. Nagelsmann, Michael Carrick. We will get into all that and we'll talk about that as well. I do want to compare and give you some stats on Nagelsmann as well, so I'll give you some stats on him. Alex Scott, I do want to, there is some stuff coming out about him as well. And look, I wanted to start off on Anderson. You know, as the thumbnail says there, hearing aids are advised. Did you like my comment on your video? Which one, Grace? I will have to check it out. I will have to check it out. I'm not sure which one, but I will promise you I will check it out afterwards. I'm sure it was a lovely comment, Grace, you know, because you know you are, so you know. I'm kidding. Dino is in the house. Grace is in the house. Legend as well. Danny is in the house. Everything is good. So look, I've put on the thumbnail, as you can see by the picture there. As well, that City have stolen Elliot Anderson. Look, about never. Yes, Grace, I did see that. Look, hopefully, if he wants to make me an offer, then he's more than willing. He can come and make me an offer. I am not for sale. I am not for sale. This channel is never for sale. Look. Fabrizio has come out and said it. Look, it's everywhere completely. Look, he's even said, look, City are pushing this deal. The United Neville channel says Dino. Dino's on it. It is Friday. Dino is on it as well. Dino has changed his YouTube channel to Boxing Central. I think it is now, Dino. So again, check that out. And Grace. Exactly that. Look, exactly that. Look, he was never coming. Look, we've been saying this on this channel when we were talking about Semenyo, Anderson, way back when. We've been talking about this for weeks and months, and it's just, again, when we go into the transfer window, we've got to be thinking about this. Like, we've been spun to and lied to again. Like, this is when we're talking about, and we're sat here, oh, friends, oh, Grace, I love it. Oh, friends, overlap friends, oh, friends, oh, overlap friends. Look, he does, Grace, and I'm going to put that to bed, really, because this is why, again, when people keep talking about him, they put him on thumbnails. Look, this is the last time I'm talking about this play. He has been going to City. We've been pretending that we're in the race. Look, I think the picture sums it up. Like, the picture sums this up. Look, City will take the player. City want him. And Anderson, we was always going to... Exactly. And it's going to be the same for Tonali. It's going to be the same for any players, any good players that we want is going to be a battle. So what I'm hoping has now happened, like the Semenyo stuff where we were never going to get on board with the Semenyo stuff, the Anderson stuff can now actually be put to bed, and I want it to be put to bed because he is not coming. So this club is sat there saying that we're still in for this player. They've put this out there for weeks and months in the January they put it out there in the window that, you know, we were looking at this player. You know, Romano was talking about it. Ornstein were talking about it. Total and utter rubbish. So look, I am glad. I'm glad in some respects that now look, this has been put to bed. Fabrizio has come out. I don't know if Ornstein has, but City are pushing to get the deal done. City will get this deal done. It is as simple as that. So look, anybody hoping that an Anderson, that this deal will get done, for us, it's done and dusted. It is finished. So look, I'm pleased in some respects that it's now done. But it just goes to show, in my view, what we've become. You know, City, I've got 115, and look, this is not about me necessarily having a dig at them on that subject. But look, City 115, and they're still building a team. They're not scared. They're still building their team, and we are trying to get players in. We're trying to compete, and we're cowering. We're cowards. We don't want the fight. So it's just look. It is a sad state of affairs. We all know what we are, and we're not up for a fight. So Henderson says, "It's great to finally be here. It's about 18 degrees. I hate hot weather. I'm moving to Iceland," says Grace. So look, as has been confirmed with Fabrizio, City are going to get this deal done. They are. We're just waiting. We're waiting for the scraps. We're waiting to see if Man City will drop food from their mouth and we'll pick it up and we'll eat it. They are not going to drop this player. So it is crazy. Henderson says the 115 is going on for an awful long time. Look, Henderson, I think it's going to be. I just think this is going to be kicked down the road. It's going to be constantly kicked. It's going to be kicked down the road. You know, even if it goes positively for the Premier League, they're gonna contest it. This will go on for I reckon at least another 18 months, a year to 2 years, easy. Anderson in that City midfield is going to be a joke, and Dino, I don't think they're going to stop there either. It wouldn't surprise me if they went Tonali and him as well. So look, you know, it is going to be an absolute joke. But City are you know, they are a serious club. So I don't want that title. It's the shittiest way to win a title. I don't want it either. I don't. Grace says if Madrid want so Rodri, we need to go all in for too many. I agree, Grace. I do agree with you. I think the more that I think about this, the more that I do like that player. I really do. And I think, look, if Madrid are willing to sell him, I think we need to be in there to buy the player. I think the wages is what's going to hold us back, because we are an ambitious club. So let's see on that one. So Anderson, I'm sort of glad. I am glad that one I think is pretty much done. So look, next I wanted to talk about. So it was just a little bit of an update in regards to Anderson. It's done and dusted, thank God. City are going to get a decent player there. Hopefully they will overpay. You know, there are rumours that the owner wants 120 million quid. So good luck. If that's what he wants, then good luck. Astadina says, big club doing the big club moves. Wish that we would. Exactly. We used to be a big club, but we're not anymore in terms of the transfer market. So let's move on to the big shift. Look, Nagelsmann and Carrick. So, according to reports, as there always are, and the Daily Mail and TalkSport and whoever else, Michael Carrick met with Sir Jim. Sir Jim was in Carrington on Monday, and they had a conversation. And they had a chat. No, nobody knows necessarily the ins and outs of this. But what it is felt is that, look, Radcliffe hasn't given Carrick any necessary indication that it's going to be his job. I'm still going to say this. I'm still on the train that they are going to give it to him. But even I will have to admit, and I will need to reach out again to my extremely good person. Look, there does seem to be a shift. There seems to be a shift that Michael Carrick isn't the guy. There seems to be a shift. Your lovely says a big profile manager wouldn't win you cups in United. It's proven. A big profile. I disagree with you, Jose. I mean, Jose came in and won the Europa League, so I disagree with that one. I do disagree. He came in and won that. That is a big trophy. So look, I respect the view. I get it, but I also disagree. Van Gaal won an FA Cup. You know, whether you consider that a big cup or not. Look, Van Gaal, I would say, was a big name. He won a cup. Jose, you know, he won stuff. As well, Eric Ten Hag, I know he wasn't a big name, but you know, I kind of disagree with that because the big names that have come here, the big names, have actually won stuff. So I don't think that's quite correct. But Michael Carrick, there is doubt whether people like this or not. We need the right fit. I wouldn't care what the track record was if they came in and turned us into a consistent contenders. And Henderson, I think Henderson's hit the nail on the head. I really do. Like there is. Let's be completely fair here. We've got to be completely fair here. Michael Carrick has won 8 of 13. That is nothing to be sniffed at. That is record-wise. If you're looking at that, it is elite, right? Let's be fair. The problem is, and this has been created by the club, is he's done that in a very. I think there are a couple of things here that I think are working against him. One, this is the worst Premier League that we've had in the longest time. So I think it's very, very difficult to gauge Michael Carrick. Is this the new league? You know, has our league, have we been so blinded over the last X amount of time that our league was the best? And actually, is it now a case of our league is actually, this is what we are again? It's difficult to judge, in my view, Carrick this season because it's a very, very up and down season. Second of all, look, Michael Carrick has come into this side and it's not his side. Like, I will be consistent on this. I don't see how a manager can be properly judged unless you give him his players. And that will stand to reason with him as well. So Carrick, look, I know Carrick knows these players, but these aren't his players. So what I mean is, in a perfect world, what would happen is you bring in a coach, you give him his own team, his own players, and you'd say, look, let's see what you can do. Michael Carrick is not going to get that. So it's very, very difficult to judge him. Now, I'm starting off on the positive things here because, look, I don't necessarily want him, but I've got to be fair and give you the reasons why I think it's fair for him. So he can't really be judged because this isn't his team. You know, this is as a season, it is a difficult season. We can't ignore the fact that he's won 8 from 13, and he has got a team of players who we all know what these players are playing, and if we finish in the top 5, look, he's got to be in contention. But that's the positive side. There is a negative side, and this is where I fall. Let me read these chats, and then I'll tell you the different side to it as well. So Henderson says, the worst Premier League, 82 points, will win it this year. Ray says, it's scary to me. We went from Jose, Van Gaal, Ten Hag to Carrick. We are not elite. We need to stop thinking we are. And if we appoint Carrick, that will... Ray, I think that's a point extremely well made there. So look, what for all of the positives, the negative sides are these. Look, yes, we have won 8 of 13. Look, that cannot be ignored. But there has to be comparisons to Ole. Look, I know people don't want to hear this. Look, look, is it a different team? In essence, some of it is the same team, but the mentality is still there. These wins haven't been great. Now, you've got to look at it in the context. Look, if you look at it and say he's won 8 from 13, that's fact. But this has been an awful season. And if you look back on those games, the last 8 games, it's been horrific. Like, it has been awful. And sometimes, look, all that matters is wins. That's all that matters. Particularly now. But going into next season, look, if we played like this and we won a league playing like this, look, I wouldn't be happy, but we would win it, right? But is this sustainable? Is this a sustainable way of playing? And I don't think that it is. And Henderson is right. We were lucky against, and you know, look, Henderson. People will come back at that and say, like, how can you be lucky, right? Look, we've been fortunate this season. I don't want to let a season in time, a period in time, make us make a decision for the future based on something now that is not real. We are in a moment in time. Carrick has done phenomenally well. But it is not sustainable. Look, it is proved by Ole. And again, I know I keep going back to that, but look, it's proven by an Ole. You know, that the way that we play now, look, we look unfit. I think we look worse. I think we look disorganised. I don't think we look, you know, I don't think we look like a team. I think we look like a ragtag bunch of players that Michael Carrick lets these players do what he likes. If you listen to the training that they do now compared to what they did, it's easier. We look unfit. We play one game a week and we look unfit. I think we look disorganised. I thought Amarin brought structure to the team, and yes, people will slate him, but people forget that Amarin was 3 points off of top 5. It wasn't like we were miles and miles off. I know Bruno Fernandes. There are 2 things that I will say that have been proven correct. Bruno Fernandes, irrespective of whether Amarin was trying to play a system, Bruno is in the wrong position, and Manu, I think, should have played. Those 2 things, I can concede those. But we looked fitter, we looked better, and this half of the season, that Monday for me could be one of those games where we've been threatening to be tanked. And I'm worried for Monday because I fear that that's one of those games where, look, we've been fortunate. We've come up against teams whereby we've scored. They haven't managed to score. I'm worried for Monday. I'm worried for Monday. What are we saying? My bad. I meant to say Premier with United. It's a Farmers League. City will win the league. Look, how can it be the Farmers League? Look, stop talking shit. Stop talking crap. The Premier League is not the Farmers League. Let's be clear on this. The Premier League is not the Farmers League, right? If you're trying to say, if you look at La Liga, Bundesliga, Portuguese league, if you look at any other league, the consistency is just isn't there. This season, look, if you look at if you look at the Champions League, right? Champions League, what have you got? You've got Arsenal, PSG, Bayern, and whoever else, right? In the Europa League, you've got Aston Villa and Forest. Look, it is a bad season, but the Premier League is still the Premier League. The Premier League is not the Farmers League. So look, you can. I will say this season isn't vintage season, but look, to say this is the Farmers League, look, look, come on now. Let's have a sensible debate on this. Let's be sensible on this one. It is not, is it? So, look, let's be having a proper discussion, because it is not the Farmers League, is it? So, but look, so that is my concerns. But look, Nagelsmann has come right back into it. Now, I know people would rather Michael Carrick, but I'm going to bring in, and I wanted to talk about some of Nagelsmann's stats and talk about him and where we think he compares. And look, get in your views. Would you rather Michael Carrick? Would you rather a Nagelsmann? Because at the end of the day, I think those two are. I think Emery is going to stay with an Aston Villa. Eddie Howe, I think, could possibly go. But I think realistically within the club, it is a choice between Nagelsmann and Michael Carrick. So let me get through some of your chat, and then we'll go through Nagelsmann's stats, because I think he's worth it. Pogba said Bruno would have won Ballon d'Or with City. No wonder he's gone. Look, Pogba. Look, I like Paul Pogba. I think Paul Pogba was, I don't want to say a waste of talent, because I don't think he was. Look, he still won stuff. Look, I think Pogba gets a bad press. I do. I like Pogba. I think Pogba could have been so much more. I think Pogba could have been so much more like Pogba. But again, look, I get it. I get what you're saying. I think that, players, ex-players, opinions at times, I don't think they mean to say stuff. But I do get why people get angry about that. Have a little look. We need 5 points to guarantee. Look, Henderson, right now, I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less how we get. I couldn't care less if we have 1% possession and we score a goal because Bruno Fernandes kicks it against his own face. It ricochets against Malacia's butt and sneaks in. I don't care. Pharmacy, no one can compete with Cheaty. I can't. Views, Dr. Glass. Okay. Pogba was no Sancho, that's for sure. Pogba should have been one of the greatest. He had everything except maybe the mentality. Yeah, Pogba. Pogba was better than Sancho. Look, I'm not going to have that. Pogba is better than a Sancho. I think Pogba injuries, I think, didn't help him, and I think Pogba needed somebody. I think with him, Pogba needed like a Pirlo. Pogba needed those players around him to help him. whereas Pogba couldn't lead. I think the difference between what separated Pogba from being a true world-class player was true world-class players can lead, whereas Pogba needed to be led. That's how I always envisioned him, but that's my view. So look, Nagelsmann, who is he? 36, 37, currently the coach of the German team, once labelled a footballing nerd. Look, 36, 37 years old, young coach, very, very, very young coach, to have that experience as a young coach. So look, Hoffenheim, one of his first jobs, 28, still Garnacho is bigger scum. Look, I don't need to go into all that, calling players names, but I think people do have their opinions on him, good or bad. So, Hoffenheim, 28 he was when he took over there. Saved them from going down into Bundesliga B and took them to the Champions League. So at 28, he took them from relegation to Champions League. 136 games, win percentage of 39%, 1.4 points per game. But look, so some people may say that, look, Carrick got a 42 win percentage rate in the Championship. But look, with Hoffenheim doing that, that is an overreach. So I'm not too bothered about the win percentage there. Look, he took a team that were getting blasted, going down into the second tier of the German leagues, and got to the Champions League. So look, for me, that is a massive tick. Bring us Xavi Alonso, not for me. And then he moved to Leipzig. So took Leipzig again, very, very good there. He took over Leipzig and took them to another. He just took them over, made them better. 95 games, 54% win percentage there, 1.79 points per game. Look, got to the Champions League semi-final and consistently into the top three. Now, what cannot be ignored and what we're talking about here, because this is important. This is important because we talk about here, we don't care how we get the points on the board because we want to get into the Champions League. When we get to the Champions League, Michael Carrick has no experience of the Champions League as a coach. Nagelsmann has done it twice. Nagelsmann has done it with Hoffenheim and Leipzig. He's got Leipzig to a semi-final. This is what I want. This is why I lean towards this coach. If you can take Leipzig, Hoffenheim to the Champions League with a limited budget and limited players, because that is what we are going to have next season. We're not going to go by 7 players next season. We're not going to go and change the complete side. We are going to have to work with a Luke Shaw, a Dalot. Nagelsmann is used to working with these types of players. And Nagelsmann can take a Hoffenheim who were going down to Champions League, RB Leipzig, taking them to the Champions League, finishing top 3. So, look, when we are talking about this, look, this cannot be understated. Having a coach who has managed at the highest level in the Champions League. He's been doing this since he was 28. He's 36. He's been doing this for nearly 9 or 10 years now. So even from those two clubs, this is where it becomes for me abundantly clear what sort of coach. So Joe Bay says, can't believe we're going to hire a manager that finished mid-table in the Championship. I know that, JB. I'm happy with the current system. We just need a manager to roll with it. Look, I am not happy. I'm just going to say this now. I am not happy with this current system. I'm not happy with it. I'm not. I don't accept it. It is what we've got. I don't accept it. It's not something that I'm having to go because we don't have a choice. Bayern Munich. So this is what suddenly sometimes happens with coaches. Look, he went to Bayern Munich, and I think the expectation with Bayern was, look, he was going to take them to win the Champions League, and I think when you go to Bayern Munich, particularly after you've been with Hoffenheim, and you go to Bayern Munich, and you've gone to a Leipzig, the expectation is you are going to win the Champions League, but we're winning. We just need the right players. But look, I understand that, but I don't know what games you watch. Like, if you've watched the games, look. If this was Jose football, I would understand. But look, we are getting progressively worse. Look, this is not good to watch. This system isn't good. If we were to play Real Madrid, right? We've got to think about what we want to do next season. If you watched the Bayern Munich Real match, right? We are nowhere near those teams. Look, we can't have it every single way. Do we want to get into the Champions League and progress as a league? Because I'm telling you now, the way we're playing next season, Liverpool will be better, City will be better, Chelsea won't. Aston Villa will, Arsenal will. Mate, we look. This is no way to play. We are winning games, but it's not great. Look, it is not great. When was the last time? My question here is this: when was the last time we had a comfortable win that you thought, you know what? We've played well the whole game and we've had a good win here. I cannot remember the last time. What if our current players won't be able to play the system? A change, revamp, it will be endless loop like Chelsea. But look, yeah, but we're not playing a system. We're not playing a system. We are playing Player FC. This is not a system. This is not a system, by the way. This is Michael Carrick. But if you watch how he plays, the tactics are not there. We play a counter-attack 4-3-3. I don't mind a counter-attack, but this is not a system. Look, this is not. This isn't a system. This is, you let these players do whatever they want to do. This is Michael Carrick's way of playing, and it can't be changed. But look, Palace. I don't agree with Palace because the first half of Palace was shit. If you go back and you watch the Palace game, I would probably say City was probably the last time that I felt comfortable where we won a match. It's Bruno FC. I've got it. I'm not saying that. So look, Nagelsmann. Look, he went to Bayern Munich, 84 games, 71% win, 2.3 points per game. He won the Bundesliga. So I think one of the reasons why he got sacked was because he didn't win the Bundesliga 22-23. Look, one of the things where he got sacked and the reason why he got sacked was basically because I just think Bayern found him just quite inconsistent in the second season in those big games. I think from a perspective of the players, and again, this could be a concern where, look, you've got your established stars and he clashed with some of those players. Now, is that an indication? Because Nagelsmann, when we've been talking about company men, Nagelsmann is his own person. Nagelsmann is going to be like Nagelsmann is going to be a very Amarin type. Okay, to be here's who I really want. Good evening. I'll take him. I'll take him right now. Emery is underrated. I like Emery. I like Emery. I would take Emery. So I would take Emery. I've said it many times. I really like Emery. I would take him. Look, he is the type of guy who will rub people up the wrong way. That is what all good coaches, in my view, should make people feel equally as comfortable as uncomfortable. I think these players should feel uncomfortable. They should never feel like their place is in that team. The moment these players think their feet are under this table, that is when things go wrong. So Nagelsmann, for me, I think I like that. I want him to come in. Look, he's the problem for me is this. I think Nagelsmann will be the right coach, but can he work under a Wilcox? That is going to be the question. He's going to come in as a coach. Wilcox standing over you, trying to tell you what. I just don't know if that is going to work. So look, he's going to come in. He's going to ruffle these players up. And I'm not sure if that is going to work. Look, so international-wise, so he went to the German side. He took over a poor side. And what has he done? Look, he's made them more aggressive, pressing, faster transitions, tactically flexible. He can play with a back three and a back four as well. So look, he is a hybrid coach. Another concern of mine is these players are not tactically flexible. He can play a 3-4-2-1. He can play a 4-2-3-1. He can play a hybrid system. Are these players good enough? And that is a factor that I think we need to think about here. Is he is a very intelligent, very, very good coach. What he likes in his teams, he likes to press high, to attack. He's high pressing, the vertical attacking positional rotation. He loves the data as well, so he should fit really well into what it is that we're trying to do here as well. I think he is a pep type. He is a pep type, and what I mean is he's 36 years old. He's got the complexity of Pep, but he's got the German insanity. And look, I'm not suggesting that he's going to be like Pep, and I'm not suggesting that he is like Pep, but he's 36 and he's got the complexity of Pep, but the German Klopp insanity mindset. And I like that he is an attacking, aggressive coach who wants to play. Now, he will take no BS from these players. If you want a coach who just wants the best, who will come into this club and get these players playing, but the problem is, will he be backed? Nagelsmann, for me, there is no choice. There is no choice. Have a look at that. Done that. So Nagelsmann, for me, it's all about the Nagelsmann. Let me see what you've got in the chat, and we will go through your chat. Look, we need to be capable of playing multiple systems in the sense you use the right tool for the right job. 100%. And that is why Nagelsmann is so good, because Michael Carrick has one way to play. And that's been proven. Like, he's been here now for 13 odd games. He's got one way of playing, and that's it. That is all he's got. Emery could be a good choice. The man, Arola, I'm not too sure about him. I've got to be honest. I'm not too sure. I'm not sure if he's quite the right fit. I'm not sure. I am really not sure. It's crazy how Arsenal. Yeah, I'm on fire. He's got hair, JB. So look, Nagelsmann. For me, I don't think it's a contest. The caveat to that is I've got to say this: would we be walking into an Amorim situation again? And the reason I say that is because Nagelsmann is not a company man. He's not going to listen to a Wilcox. He's not going to do as he's told. You know, these players are not going to be... These players don't like being told what to do. These players can't stand it. And Nagelsmann is going to come in here and he's going to rip these players a new arsehole. Because that is what he does. He's going to come in... He's going to look at this squad and go, you guys are so unfit. He's going to take a look at this squad and go, how are you lot going to play the system? Also, as well, not forget this. He's not going to be coming in until after the World Cup. We also need a coach that's going to come in now, because there is no way that Nagelsmann is going to be able to come in and implement what he wants to do literally within 3 weeks. And will he be given the time? As it's been proven, Amorim wasn't given his time. You know, if Nagelsmann comes into this side, let's just imagine the press. Let's just imagine the press, the media, the fan channels. If Nagelsmann comes into this squad and Michael Carrick as an Englishman, biased, isn't given the job, can you imagine what will happen? If you get Nagelsmann, say 4 players, the argument is going to be, and he'll be set up to fail. He'll be set up to fail from the very start. It will be Michael Carrick was able to come in, qualifies for the Champions League, and this manager can't even win one of like the first 5 games. You can just see it. He will come into this club, and unless he is protected, bought players, you can just see it. You can just absolutely see it. So, look, whatever we do, whatever this club decides to do it. Like, you've got to do it soon. And there are reports to say that, look, this club is going to appoint a coach at the end of next month, the beginning. Look, as far as I'm aware, I've always been told this, that Michael Carrick is going to get the job. In terms of players, I don't think that we're confident that we're going to get the players that we think that we are. It's the easiest thing to do. It is the easiest thing to do. It is the weakest thing to do, is to appoint a coach he's going to be a safe pair of hands. Amorim got too emotional, probably out of frustration, and so Nagelsmann handled the scenario. Exactly. Can Nagelsmann handle the situation? And that is a very, very good question. You know what, JB? Let's go with Southgate or Potter. Well, we can't go for Potter because Potter is at the World Cup with Sweden. You know, Potter is now a success. Potter has managed to get Sweden to the World Cup. So sorry, Potter is not available because Potter has gone to the World Cup with Sweden. So on a positive note, let's go for positivity. Let's go for a player that we have been heavily linked to more and more. And I like this. Alex Scott. Let's talk about Alex Scott. Wonderful player. Bournemouth player, central midfield, 21 years old. 21, central attacking midfield. Look, he's having a fantastic season. Ball, he progresses the ball, resistant to the press. And let's go through some of his stats. So Alex Scott, he's played 32 games this season, 29 starts, 2,400 minutes, 3 goals, 1 assists, 4 goal contributions. Look, brilliant. Look, 21 years old, absolutely fantastic. And Bournemouth, as you saw against Arsenal, he scored some goals there. Look, great player. What a fantastic player. Look, what kind of player is he? Look, he touches the ball a lot. He's very comfortable with the ball at his feet. He drives the ball forward and he carries the ball through the midfield lines. He is a ball carrier. He is a number 8. He is a Kobe Mainu type of player. Now, your lovely says too young. No. Look, is he too young? He's only going to be too young. He's only going to be too young if we don't get a more experienced midfielder. But if they're not available, this club were happy for Anderson to be the main signing. And what's he, 21, 22? So look, I just have to say that Alex Scott for me wouldn't be the main midfielder. He can't be. He would have to be one of the midfielders. I think we need 3, but he would have to be. He would have to be one of 2 or 3. He is Kobe Mainu. Look, I don't mind having another sort of Mainu. I think he would be a slightly more defensive, but he is a Kobe Mainu type of player. And I don't mind that because I think we need as many midfielders as we possibly can. He is when you're looking at him, he is resistant to the press. Is he a number 6? No, I think we do need more of a number 6 type. Is he a hybrid 6-8? I probably wouldn't class him as that. I'd probably class him as more of an 8 forward, 8-10. But look, he moves through the lines, resistant to press, energy is high because he's young. He is top tier. So where he ranks, look, in terms of carrying the ball, he's top tier. In terms of the chances, he's sort of a mid-tier. He does create chances, but look, he does need to improve that aspect of his game. Technical ability is very, very high. He's a very, very technical player, but his output of goals is quite low. So what you are getting, look, he is a Kobe Mainu type. Do we need another Kobe Mainu? Slightly different, I think, but he is a Kobe Mainu type of player. Look, he beats players. One of his skills is he beats players. He transitions very, very quickly, and he does link defense to attack. So he is a player that I think he does have attributes to be more that defensive style of player. And should we and could we convert him into a kind of more of a defensive type of, more of a Tonali type? I don't think he is that type yet, but could we convert him into more of that defensive side? Because at the moment I think he's in that Kobe Mainu camp, and what I mean is that Kobe Mainu I think could play anywhere between 6, 8 and 10. I think he needs to pick a position. I think his best position is an 8. Alex Scott, he can't be the main midfielder. He can't be, but I don't mind him at all. Sean Dyche or we riots. You're lovely. Brilliant. I don't think Sean Dyche would be the one for me. So look, Alex Scott. I think Alex Scott is a very interesting option. Look, he's been spoken about a lot, but too many as well. We've been speaking about him, And those are the players that I think that we need to get. Tonali for me, again, we talk about him quite a lot. The Tonali thing for me, look, I think that's done. If you listen to what we put out there as a club a couple of weeks ago, we said that we were looking at him last summer. One of our concerns for him basically was the gambling thing. You don't put that out there unless you're trying to distance away from the player, and that's what we did. We tried to distance ourselves from the player, and I think that is done. So if I was Tonali, I think I'd be a little bit annoyed that that's what we put out there in the media. I think Tonali is done. The Bruno G stuff, I think that's got panic buy written all over that deal. If we get to the back end of the transfer window and we haven't signed the main midfielder, I think we go and panic buy him. I think we would drop £85 million on him, and I think we panic buy him. So the Bruno G thing, I don't think that's necessarily finished yet. I think if we get to the end of a window and we've not gone and got the target, look, Steele's out there. I mean, you could go get him for 65 million. Tuameni is out there as well. Look, we heavily linked, and again, we're linked to him. It is a possibility. It's a really, really big possibility to sign that player. If we drop the ball on these players, I can see us doing a panic buy and loading down 85 million quid on a player who's 28. So I wouldn't rule that out. I would look. Anderson, we know he's gone. Look, that is done and dusted. We know that that's finished. We know that that's done. And yeah, I look. We will keep out. So look, I will do a review of the Brentford games. The Brentford game. I will do a review of that probably tonight or tomorrow. But just keep an eye. I think there are things that are going to start to break, and I think if we win on Monday and we're guaranteed Champions League spaces, I think that is when you will see announcements start to be made. And I'm convinced, as I've been told this for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, that Michael Carrick is going to get the job. But let's see what this club does, because it changes its mind more than people change their pants. I don't know. But look, on that note, guys, thank you for watching the show. Brilliant. These shows are fantastic. I do appreciate you being here. You guys are legends, and I really support, and I really thank you guys for supporting the channel. It is a Friday. The sun is out, so whatever you're doing this afternoon, go and enjoy it. I will be back this evening. Don't forget to comment on the videos as well. Go into the comments, go into the community, put stuff in there. It's all up there for you guys to go and look at, and it is yours. So do with it as you will. So look, I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel, and I will be back this evening. So have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, and thank you guys for watching. Take care.